I love this paper, and I don't love a lot of papers, but I love this paper because it says exactly what President Obama promised we would do first when we tackled the disaster called No Child Left Untested. Finally, we were going to start focusing on real student learning. And by the way, that's more than having kids hit a cut score on a standardized test. The president said, and I remember when he said it, we are going to stop doing things that don't work. What a plan. Let's stop doing the stupid stuff. Yay! I mean, teachers were sending up balloons all over the country when he said that. This paper is really a very important first step in getting those dramatic improvements that we must design into our highest priority schools. And there are a lot of people who want to get this right. Senator Harkin and Representative Miller have been working on this issue for a long time. I know they want to get it right, and I want to thank them for their leadership. They know that it's not going to be right if we don't do the important homework first and look at what research and experience tells us is already working. And that's what this paper is all about. It says, number one, you're going to get rid of the one-size-fits-all mania because kids don't come to us in a box. And what they need from us is very different, school to school, classroom to classroom, child to child. Give us the authority and the freedom and the responsibility to design something that does work with actual real children who are counting on us. And structure a system so that that teacher, as I was for so many years, is so isolated, where you feel like you're all alone out there, and every problem that comes to you, you have to be responsible for finding that solution. Every place we've seen schools turn around, it's when they stop isolating the teachers and they start building teams. The first thing those teams do is they very clearly articulate, what is our purpose? What are we trying to accomplish? Too many places today are saying, all right, our purpose must be to hit this cut score. There are some insidious ways that you can hit a cut score that actually hurt kids. What we want them to say is, we need our kids to be prepared for the rest of their lives, to lead the lives that they deserve to lead. Number two, you're going to recognize that that school, even with all the best professionals in it, can't do it alone. But the school can be a hub. The school can be the convener for the entire community, the parents, the businesses, researchers, people who can see what happens with parents who are trying to work for three jobs just to put food on the table. You have to have the right people come together in that school community: nutrition, health, crime, jobs. And then you build a culture within that school of leadership, someone who's ready to take charge and say, whatever the challenge is, I'm going to do my part, no excuses in finding the solution. We've seen what works in real school communities out there when they come together with vision and with a clear purpose and an attitude that says, we know we can be better, and no matter how good you are, you can always be better. We've seen what's happened in Hamilton County, Tennessee, and Seattle, and the priority schools in Wisconsin. We've seen entire school districts that have revamped their professional development and their teacher evaluation around what it means to a child in Helena, Montana. And we've seen what happens in Putnam City West High School, where a fourth of the student body is our English language learners. 2/3 of those families live below the poverty line, and it's a very transient community. 40% of the kids who are there at the beginning of the year will have moved and gone on by the end of the year. They needed something very different, tailored to their kids, and they didn't wait for someone to rescue them. They said, we are going to do whatever it takes. And when you take a look at their plan, it is remarkably like the framework that Representative Chu is presenting to us today. They used data, but not to rank and label and blame. They used data and analyzed it and said, here are the strengths and weaknesses in our kids, and why do we think these are strengths, and why do we think these are weaknesses, and what needs to happen to support these kids. They brought together teachers, support staff, administrators, but they also brought in the parents in a very, very special way. Business leaders, specialists, advocates, community colleges, and then they did something remarkable. They listened to each other, because so often we see one little piece of our part of the puzzle. They brought everyone in and they listened to what was going on with the whole system. They organized student classes with an emphasis to show students why it was relevant for them to show up and take these classes, because a lot of these kids had no context for college. They didn't understand that that diploma was not an end. That diploma was the beginning of something that they could count on for the rest of their lives. They partnered with technology centers so that kids could understand, wow, if I really apply myself here, I could get this really cool job. They reached out to parents who were sometimes very nervous about coming to school because there were language barriers so often. And they made those parents feel like that school belonged to them, and there was a place for them in that school. The parents got excited about what college could mean, and they talked about how parents could prepare those kids for college and afford college. They trained the teachers to analyze data so they could design something very personal for each and every child, and those kids started to feel like that school was there for them. And yes, they are measuring results. After 3 years at Putnam City West High School, parent night went from a few dozen parents who might show up to over 200. They needed a bigger room. They needed to bring in extra chairs. The pass rate on English 2, which is a graduation requirement, went from 55% to 77% passing. The Academic Performance Index, which is a broader achievement across different subject areas, went up 27% for Hispanic students. Attendance is up, and surprise, surprise, when attendance goes up, success goes up, graduation rates go up. Graduation rates this last year went up by 70%. Putnam City West High School is not afraid of accountability, because accountability there, like in the representatives framework, is not a blame game. It's taking responsibility for doing what's right and designing something that works, and that's what's key. That is what this paper is all about. This isn't a matter of how many people get fired or how many scripted reading programs your district decides to buy so that your cut score can go up. If you really want to transform schools and do what works, you don't design a system around the problem. You design the system around the solutions, around the best amongst us, and the 3.2 million members of the National Education Association are so thankful for the representative in making that point crystal clear. Do what works. Muchísimas gracias.